Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is going down again. Very exciting. Of course, the Garden was amazing, but now Barclays Center, UFC 208, and the first person we know about who I'm so excited about being on the card, the one and only Holm is here. How are you, Holly?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited to get to talk to you. You've had an action-packed year.
It has been.
Year and change now, I guess, right? Year and 3 months or something?
Yep. Year and a month.
So that was when, of course, you got on everyone's radar the night you beat Ronda Rousey. I was, just to give you a little bit of I would think if I were you, I'd be curious about things like this.
Okay.
I was DJing or hosting a Tribe Called Quest at the time.
Okay.
It was the re-release of their first album, and they had a big party in New York.
Oh, cool.
So it was a really great party with
Cool.
and it was packed.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason I missed this fight. But they're my favorite group of all time. They asked me to be there. So I'm hosting the party. And when I got the text alert, I was so dumbfounded that I grabbed the mic, stopped the music.
Yes.
I got DMX Rough Riders anthem ready. And
I do like these stories, by the way.
Right?
Keep going.
And I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know, where was the fight? Australia?
Yeah.
I was like, I just heard Australia. I'm sorry, Ronda, there's no disrespect, but I was in a club. It's a hip-hop club, so you have to deliver a certain kind of intensity. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Ronda Rousey just got knocked the fuck out by Holm. The place went fucking apeshit.
Awesome.
It was actually a really awesome moment. It let me, it added to my understanding of how important that night was.
Yeah.
In terms of
awesome.
the sport transcending. So let's start there. Take us a little bit through that. Obviously, you're a very accomplished fighter. You have 38 professional fights, something like that?
Yeah.
You have a lot of fights. So you're not brand new to this, even if you were brand new to the American sort of pop culture lexicon.
Right.
But still, how much did your life change in the immediate days after the Rousey fight?
Oh, it was changed, and I knew it would be. And actually, I'm more like, I just like to fight to win. I'm not there for, the attention on it or anything like that. And it was actually one of a big joke. One of my friends was laughing. She's like, here's the thing. You hate it and you're going in, and with this win, like, she told me before, she's like, you're going to beat her and then it's going to get even more so. And she's like, the crazy thing is you are the one that hates it. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I just want to win.
And hate what? The hype?
She's like, you don't want the attention by it. You don't like.
You just like fighting.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily wave to everybody going down the street like, oh, hey, it's. She's like, you are one of the ones that's like totally on the other side of it. And she's like, and it's so funny because if you beat her, it's gonna get like nuts. And I'm like, you know what? It's worth it. That's what it's all about.
Well, and at what point? How long before that? Had you had her in your sights of like, for me to get the respect I deserve, whether I know I'm better than her or not, for me to get the respect I deserve, I need to beat Ronda Rousey. How long had that been in your mind?
I just knew that it was an opportunity and that it was a possibility. I knew that they might throw me at her pretty soon. I only had 2 fights in the UFC before they had me for the title, and I knew that was a possibility. And I knew that if I did well, I would get that opportunity, and that's what happened. But I never set my sights only on her because all the girls in the division are tough. Now we have, then they brought in the strawweight. Now we're bringing in the featherweight. So I'm telling you, the girls and the skill level and the competitiveness that they have is just like, it's really, it's fun to watch. And so I wasn't really looking past any of these other girls.
Was that something people think? Do you think that people feel, because you had a tough year, your last couple of fights, against very tough opponents, do people you think like, oh, she beat Ronda and then she relaxed?
I feel like, what I didn't want to be was like a one-hit wonder, and that's a lot of what people throw around. I'm still here though, and I want to come back. I want to win. I've never had 2 losses in a row in my life before, in all the years of fighting, and here I am standing with 2 losses in a row. So,
what does that do to you pressure-wise? Okay, first of all, it's not like you weren't in these fights, right? Like the Misha fight was very, very tough.
Right.
In fact, you were winning the fight when she eventually came back and got the win, and it was sort of, I think the way history will remember Misha Tate, it was probably her crowning moment, not only because she wins the title, but because of the way she did it. It was a real grind for her to somehow pull that off.
Yeah.
But it's not like you just got worked.
Right.
So, but at the same time, because it's 2 straight losses, when now you have this opportunity to be the first featherweight champion ever. Do you feel this immense pressure of like, oh, if I lose 3 straight, I look crazy? How do you deal with that mentally?
For sure, but here's the bottom line. A lot of people wouldn't be able to deal with that mentally, but that's why they don't do this job. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, going into a fight, I always say, is the most vulnerable place to be. You're saying, I believe I can do this, and you might get made a fool in front of millions of people. But you love the fight so much, you're going to take that chance anyway. And a lot of people in life don't, and not just in fighting, a lot of people don't really like to take a lot of risk. But the bigger the risk, the better the reward. And that's what I'm chasing, is the reward.
Do you think there's a certain element that non-fighters could never relate to? Like a lot of times fighters have in boxing or MMA, fighters will have a several month build where they really seemingly dislike the person and blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, they end up hugging so much.
Yeah.
Is a certain part of that no matter what, when you survive a fight afterwards, there's a level of relief and joy and respect?
Oh, yeah. I think, too, a fighter only knows what it's like to get in there and go through a full training camp and to get in there and, put it on the line in front of witnesses, in front of everybody. So I feel like, and then once you've been through a battle with someone, there's this respect that you have for them. I do think that there is a lot of animosity before fights sometimes. A lot of it is hype, but some of them really do kind of, maybe that's how they get up for the fight. Maybe that's how they get into it. But yes, when the fight's over, no matter what, you just had this battle with someone and just shared a pretty intense, fighting is a very passionate sport. And when you have going through a battle like that, there's a lot of respect you have at the end. Just, wow, we just went through that together.
Right, right. No matter what is an experience together. Are you done with the Bantamweight division? Will this be where you go, or?
I would say no. Right now, I mean, I can't think too far ahead. Right now, it's just, Jermaine Duran to me and at 145. And I'm so excited to have this opportunity. It is history. It's the first time that they're going to have this weight class. And I'm very, very blessed to be part of this opportunity. But in a perfect world, if I was to write out what my dreams would be.
Let's do it.
Okay.
How would the rest play out?
Both titles at the same time.
At the same time.
Why not?
So you want to get this title and then maybe defend it or whatever, and then drop 10, go down 10, and get the bantamweight one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had that belt at one point when it was taken from me, fair and square. I think anybody in their right mind wouldn't want it to just be gone for good. I want to be able to fight for it back. But
how much does it speak to Ronda's fame and success? I wrote at the time that when around that, maybe 6 months before that, I wrote that she was truly the first crossover UFC star there ever was. And I feel very strongly about that. Mm-hmm. Not that there weren't other greats that came before her for many years, because there were. But in terms of star, it was her.
For sure.
So much so that, as they say in wrestling, you guys got like the rub. The whole division got the rub from her.
Right.
From it going to you. Then you sort of gave the rub to Misha, and now to Amanda, and now there's this whole division that's sort of been built up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't think from a skill standpoint, I don't think that Ronda stands above all those people, but her fame did help elevate all those people. Would you agree with that?
I agree, and I think that, she was a dominant champion, not just, she was running through all the girls. And it brought a lot of attention to it. However, I think that there has been a lot of skill there that maybe was overlooked before. And with Ronda, it brought a lot of attention to it. I think anybody in their right mind would be lying if they didn't think that she did something for the sport or for women's boxing or for the UFC or for MMA in general, not just
everything.
Women's MMA. I mean, she's obviously made her mark. But I also feel like there's been talent there that she helped bring attention to.
But it was there.
It was there.
Are you annoyed at all? Yesterday I read that quote from her about like it sort of sounded like a bit of an excuse of that I didn't really want the Holly Holm fight and I was sort of pushed into it because I wanted to make other people happy. Do you have any thoughts on that whatsoever, or does it matter to you at all?
Um, all I know is that for me, if I ever have a loss, I don't ever blame it on anybody else. So I don't know, where her mindset is, or, I know before the fight she was saying she was 100% prepared. So it depends on what you're hearing now. But and you know what? Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't wanting it, but it was there and it happened. And I mean, there's a lot of ways to look. There's a lot of ways to look at how that goes down. But when I look at my losses, I just think, yep, I didn't perform right.
Could have done better.
I signed the contract. My signature is on that
Right.
contract.
Were you sad for Misha's last fight? She got it handed to her pretty
No.
good at the guard. That's just what it's supposed to be.
It's the name of the game. I think that it's just, it is one of those things that, a lot of people were asking me if I wanted her to win or not because she just beat me. They're like, don't you want her to get beat? And I'm like, well, not really. If they beat me, they better beat everybody else. It better be because they're that good.
Right.
But Amanda's such a tough person, a tough fighter. And, I'm kind of, I guess, black and white about it. You win, you lose.
It just well, I think
it.
that's how you guys have to look at it. I think it's different for those of us who never would actually fight to talk about fighting, because there's a certain level, particularly in the UFC, more than boxing or anything else, about like people don't go 35-0 in MMA.
Yeah, it's
Like
hard.
it's a different thing. Losing is part of it. So it's just sort of, I think, it puts itself in its own real unique world as far as fighting goes, because losing is kind of this accepted, known thing that just happens.
I think we were actually just talking about this earlier, that there's more ways to lose. So I feel like it's more of a wild card in an MMA fight than boxing.
That's a very good point. You don't think about that. Yeah, it's not just, there's so many different things that could happen.
So many different things. I mean, even you could be winning a fight, but if they call it because of your cut and you can't see, and the cut may have been from one elbow, may not have even been from getting beat that bad. A lot of times, yes, it's open and it's bleeding because you're taking shots, but there's just so many ways a fight can end. I mean, you can be punching and the next minute you're on the ground. You can be, speaking of Ronda, look at, 14 seconds with Kat Zingano. That fight would go longer if it was to be again, but you never know what's going to happen. It can go just like that. You can be, it's not just punches you have to watch out for either. There's knees, kicks, elbows, and things like that. So I think it's more fun to fight MMA. You have more weapons. It's also harder because you have more to defend against.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to believe that McGregor Aldo goes the exact same way again.
Right.
Right. It's just,
it won't be the same. No.
That was a one random circumstance that happened. Speaking of Conor, what do you? First of all, what would you as someone who profits off of his business and what he does in the UFC directly impacts your pocket to some extent,
Right.
Because having him around is good for business.
Right.
What would you like to see happen most with Conor McGregor?
I think Conor should just do his thing. He's obviously brought the attention doing his thing, so I'm not going to be the one to tell him what to do. Just, he can do what he wants. And I feel like he's got enough, he believes he's something special, and he comes out and he doesn't just talk the talk. He really believes it, and it also shows how powerful the mind is, So he's probably going to want to push the envelope in every way he can that he already has. So we'll see what he does.
How good do you think he is? Because he's obviously become the most famous, but most people who watch are layman's. You're a fighter. How good or great is Conor McGregor?
I think he's great. I think that you can only have so many wins. A lot of people were, well, he's never gone the distance, or, well, he's never been with a wrestler, or, well, he's never been with this person that hits this hard, or, well, he's never been, he's been put in some bad spots, and we've seen his vulnerable places, but, excuse me. I think that you have to have ability to be able to actually succeed in a lot of these things. It is mostly mental. I think that if you believe in yourself, you're going to perform well. He does believe in himself. He does believe that he's, capable. And I think that that is, one of the biggest parts to his game. But if he just ran around, if he didn't have any skill to back it up, he wouldn't be just making it off his mouth.
Yeah, no, you have to cash. At some point, you got to cash the check.
At some point. And he's been tested more than once. It's not like he had one lucky. Maybe after Aldo, they say, oh, well, we can't really see how it is. And then
after the second Diaz fight, it's a tough. He was very.
I think that is the moment where he really, his stock went up. You know?
He fought very bravely in that fight. There's no question. What are you thinking about when you enter the octagon? Like, what's the moment when you're getting in there? I'm always watching what fighters are doing. Where are you at mentally?
Why do I do
this? You're right. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Choose to do this. Why do I choose to do this? No, I'm thinking that in the locker room. Actually, no. When I'm walking to the octagon, it's now. It's time to perform. Doesn't matter what happened in practice. Doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. It's right now, and you better make it happen. That is not what happened in my last two fights, but.
Well, and so what's that like? Like, how quickly can you get a sense that this may not be going the way you want it to go, or you have to adjust? How quickly does one know?
Oh, I know. And one thing too, I always want my corner to tell me. Sometimes I watch a fight and then somebody's getting beat up and their corner goes, "All right, you're doing great." And I'm thinking, no, they aren't doing great. And I sure hope my corner never tells me I'm doing great if I'm not doing great.
Right.
You better tell me. You better pick it up.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one of the frustrating things as fans when you're like, a fighter needs to win rounds and their corner's not telling them.
Come on. Right now is not the time to sugarcoat stuff.
Yeah, you sugarcoat it afterwards.
Do that later.
Right. Let's let it know exactly what it's going to be. It's February 11th, Barclays Center, UFC 208. It's going to be very, very cool to be in Brooklyn for the first time. And I'm sure there'll be an amazing energy there. So we're very excited about seeing you.
Thank you.
And excited about the opportunity for you to be the first featherweight champion.
That's my plan.
So enjoy Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Kick some ass and bring your title next time you come back.
Okay, awesome.
Holly Holm. And also, by the way, you did an interview with my wife earlier.
Yes.
Can you say, you sat across from both of us, you would agree that I am definitively more attractive than her. Is that correct?
Oh, come on.
Thank you very much. I knew it. Holly Holm, ladies and gentlemen.